As a law enforcement officer, my fundamental duty is to serve mankind, to safeguard lives and property, to protect the innocent against deception. I further swear to protect the weak against the oppression or intimidation, the peaceful against violence and disorder, and to respect the constitutional rights of all men to liberty, equality, and justice. This is a part of an oath that the officer of Night City Police Department swears on when they are entering the service, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. Welcome back, folks. My name is LastKnownMeal, and today I wanted to focus on the law and order in Night City. We are going to cover how the police operates within the city, as well as talk about their special divisions like Netsec or the Psycho Squad. Being a cop in Night City is not an easy job, due to the entire world going into whole chaos and, well, Night City becoming its own city-state. The entire operation is funded by the city council, which also means that the police can bend certain rules and regulations as they're doing their job. And with the rise of corporations and technology, dangers on the streets of Night City reached an all-time high. In a city where you can get a gun from a vending machine, how is one capable of responding to all the assaults and gunfights? Well, with more firepower and generally taking a role of a judge, jury, and executioner if the need arises. Now, NCPD was formed in 1994, and their departmental structure is pretty much similar to the one we have IRL. There is a police chief on top with two levels, one being a division level with a captain and the section level with a lieutenant. Now, the most important level is the section level, which is separated into three groups: investigations, with the usual squads being homicide, vice, robbery, special investigation; then tactical, which is SWAT, MADQUEEN, and riot police; and patrol, which is airborne, cruisers, traffic, and boat patrol. Their most funded section is the patrol one, which is consisting of uniforms spread around the city to try and keep the peace and respond to certain situations. Now, you have to keep in mind that generally this universe of Mike Pondsmith is not a police state, so generally, even though NCPD is somewhat strong, they don't even come close to the power corporations have there. And on top of that, corporations have their own police and their own army, which is usually much more equipped and cares even less about the rules and regulations than anyone else. Corruption and bribery is a very common occurrence in NCPD, with only a handful of good cops still being out there actually trying to protect people. But even that is impossible due to most cops don't even care about the bottom layer of the population and society, and that's why crime is on the rise, with more and more booster gangs controlling their areas, and even to the point where police is being pushed out. Those areas are called combat zones, and one of them is Pacifica in 2077. Now, the overall work that the police is doing in 2077 didn't change much from today. The city is not really that lawless, and you still have detectives investigating cases, you still have the judicial system convicting people, etc, etc, police cruising around, but due to the environment that they are in, and with everyone being armed, they are on the edge even more than before. The HQ of the NCPD is in Watson, Little China. We actually see their HQ as we are leaving our apartment in the game, and also if you look at the concept art, you can see it on the right. And even in the other scene, when they are examining the crime scene which occurred, and people who play the game said, if you get close to a crime scene and close to a police officer, you will get shot. That kinda tells you that there is no room for error in this universe, and don't expect the cops to protect you unless you have corporate background or generally have wealth and influence. And even if you do have corporate background, you are protected by much more powerful forces than the NCPD. And with the gap of the rich and the poor getting bigger and bigger, police needed to pick a side in a sense. With corporates having a huge influence over their bosses, usually they are lobbied to the point where they can break any rules and police cannot do anything to them. Why? Well, if you stand up against the corpos or anyone else running Night City or the police, you will end up either losing your job or worse, you will get flatlined. For example, let's take a look at this scene from the game. NCPD shows up doing the usual and is about to arrest both V and Jackie. Then you see Kaoru, which is probably an Arasaka corporate, and Detective Stins immediately changed his attitude. And when he said he doesn't want to bother with the court, he ordered Stins to kill us, and well, Stins listened. Obviously, in the game there is going to be a different outcome, but it tells you that these things are a very common occurrence. And even when Jackie is talking to Stins, he says like, look, we're not gonna stay in for a very long time. So it kind of tells you that even people who get arrested, they get back to the streets really fast. But in the game itself, in certain areas where the rich and the powerful reside, you can expect insane police presence, which means if you start making trouble, they will come after you. And then you get your wanted level. It goes up, and in the game you will actually have to lay low. Otherwise, they will be all over you wherever you move. In other poor areas, they won't bother if there is a shootout on a daily basis. I mean, what's the point? The city doesn't have any special ties to those places, and our resources are scarce, so we can only protect the rich. And corporations as well. And plus, on top of that, like places that are usually the poorest, they're used by corporations as testing grounds for their own little projects, so even that screws them up a little bit more. That's why in some of those areas you have booster gangs. They are the law and order. Some of them took on themselves to protect the people of their community just because they couldn't count on the police anymore. Those gangs being like the Voodoo Boys, for example, or the 6th Street Gang. Now, if the regular police comes after you, you might stand a chance, but then comes the elite unit called Max Stack or C-SWAT, or the Cyborg Suppression Unit. Individual Max Stack units are called SPAR teams, or Special Purpose Assault Rescue, but you can kinda scratch that last word. They were formed to deal directly with the ever-present cyber psycho threat. And you become a cyber psycho if you put way too many augmentations onto yourself, lowering your humanity index. And since your brain is spazzing out, due to all the metal in your body, you go kinda insane, treating everyone else as a meatbag. And once that happens, cyber psychos can start attacking everyone around them just randomly. And this usually happens to poor people because they put a lot of the augmentations inside of them, which are generally low quality, they lower their humanity index, and they don't have access to treatment, because when you think about all those cyborgs you've seen in the game, they can become that with a huge amounts of money. That's the only way you can do a full body conversion into an android or whatever, if you have money. If you don't, this happens. That's when they arrived to the scene. Max Stack has the best equipment and most trained officers that know how to respond in each of that situation. They are all fully augmented and have enhanced abilities to basically level themselves as equal to fight cyber psychos. Now, Max Stack is not only responsible for that, their role expanded since they were created to respond to other major threats in the city. Meaning, where SWAT fails, Max Stack arrives, and they have always had one order: hit hard and shoot to kill. They will be the last force that can come after you in 2077, and if a Psycho Squad comes after you, you can forget about doing all that cool stuff like exchanging fire with them on the streets, because in 9 out of 10 chances it will end up with you painting the asphalt. There is also one rising problem with Max Stack. Since most of their officers are fully enhanced, sometimes cyberpsychosis can happen even within their ranks, but NCPD sees this as fighting fire with fire is a very effective strategy. We shall see for how long though. Max Stack is the unit you see in the reveal trailer of the game and also in this screenshot, so they're pretty much still there and they have a very recognizable look to them. Now, NCPD does have a system in place for corpos. Basically, corpo crimes can be divided into 5 areas. Crimes against the public, crimes against the individual, against other corporations, against the environment, and against the government. But you can toss all of that into the toilet because corpos managed to activate the mini nuke in the middle of the city. So that kind of tells you that during the 4th Corporate War, NCPD could just stand on the side and look as people who are more equipped and basically trained are going against each other. I mean, who do you think provides the weapons and equipment to the police? Those same corporations. There is also another branch of the police in the universe called Netsec, or Net Security Section, which is going to be interesting to see how it held up in 2077. They provide the NCPD with all the info regarding illegal net running and monitoring crimes in cyberspace, but now that the net is destroyed, basically their whole role probably went back to, guard at least certain data pools, but also provide the cops with updated information on what is going on around them in the city. In the game itself, you will be connected to NCPD files, and by scanning people you can see if they have bounty on themselves, and by taking them down or knocking them out, you can get paid for it, even hunting a cyber psycho with max stack. But keep in mind, those updates will appear on the screen as you are roaming throughout the world, so as you are playing 2077, sometimes you will get information there is a crime activity in the area, and well, you can decide what to do. So to sum up, certain things can be tolerated in the city. Generally, crime is on an all-time high for as long as you maintain a certain status quo, meaning don't cause way too much chaos or they will come after you. But if you are especially poor and on the lowest tier of society, don't expect any help from the NCPD, and even in the corporate controlled areas where the corporate police is roaming, the regular cops are just there for the show, and it's been a while since they arrested a actual corpo, because even if they do, people who were responsible for that will get out from the police or end up dead due to the corrupt system of law. So yeah, it's pretty wild in Night City, and even the NCPD will behave like a separate organization which has its own twisted goals and priorities. And that was the lore regarding the NCPD and law and order in Night City. There isn't much of that, as you can see, but at least some level of control is maintained. Again, this is just one of many lore videos I had planned about this, so subscribe for more and tell me down below what are your thoughts about this. Thank you for watching. Join our growing community on Twitter and Discord, and I made a Patreon page. If you were looking for an extra way to support the channel, you can do it through there. This is LKM signing out, and stay classy everyone. Bye bye.